There are objects that rewrite history. There are objects that challenge everything we know. But there is one object that proves our ancestors knew far more than we ever imagined. Every page is a question, every symbol a warning, and the meaning perhaps should never have been discovered. In 1999, two treasure looters, armed with illegal metal detectors, unearthed something on a mountaintop in Germany that shouldn't exist. What they pulled from the earth that day would completely change our understanding of ancient people's intelligence and reveal astronomical knowledge so advanced it would challenge everything we thought we knew about the Bronze Age. These criminals had no idea they were holding humanity's oldest star map in their hands, a bronze and gold disk that would prove our ancestors from 3,600 years ago weren't primitive ignoramuses, but sophisticated astronomers capable of complex celestial calculations. And the most disturbing part? This extraordinary object was almost destroyed, melted down and lost forever before scientists even knew of its existence. The story of the Nebra Disk begins like a true crime thriller. Henry Westphal and Mario Renner, the two antiquities thieves, were scouring Mount Mittelberg near the small town of Nebra in Saxony-Anhalt when their detectors began beeping frantically. They dug furiously and found a Bronze Age burial chamber containing swords, axes, chisels, and a circular bronze disc covered in green corrosion. The disc was approximately 12.5 inches in diameter and weighed just over 4.5 pounds. Embedded in its oxidized surface were golden symbols that gleamed even beneath layers of millennial dirt. The looters had absolutely no idea what those images meant, but they knew gold was valuable. They quickly wrapped everything up and fled under cover of night, initiating a 4-year journey through the black market that nearly resulted in the irreparable loss of this archaeological treasure. For years, the disc changed hands in the underworld of illegal antiquities trade. It was offered to private collectors, art traffickers, and anyone willing to pay the price without asking questions. The asking price kept climbing as intermediaries realized this object was different from anything they'd ever seen. No one could identify exactly what it was or where it came from, but the unique combination of bronze and applied gold, along with the celestial symbols, made it clear this was something extraordinary. Meanwhile, the illegal excavation site remained unknown to authorities, and each passing day increased the risk that the disc would be damaged, modified, or completely lost. The turning point came in 2002, when archaeologist Harold Meller from the State Museum of Prehistory in Saxony-Anhalt received a tip about a mysterious disc being offered on the black market. Meller was known for his determination to recover stolen artifacts and immediately mounted a rescue operation. Working with Swiss police, he organized a secret meeting in Basel, pretending to be an interested buyer. The tension was palpable when Meller met with the traffickers at a hotel. They demanded 300,000 German marks for the disc. Meller quickly examined the object, his heart racing as he realized the authenticity and importance of what he was seeing. At the right moment, police burst into the room, arrested the criminals, and recovered the disc along with other artifacts from the burial chamber. It was one of the most dramatic archaeological recovery operations in modern history. When the Nebra Disk finally reached the hands of legitimate scientists and archaeologists, the true magnitude of the discovery began to reveal itself. The object was approximately 12.5 inches in diameter and made of bronze with gold inlays applied, using a sophisticated technique. But it was the symbols on the surface that left everyone speechless. The disc showed what was clearly a celestial map. 32 golden stars or dots scattered across the surface, a larger circle obviously representing the full moon, another circle interpreted as the sun or new moon, and a cluster of 7 dots close together that any astronomer would immediately recognize as the Pleiades, the famous star cluster visible in the northern hemisphere. There were also 2 arcs on opposite edges of the disk, made of gold, and a third arc at the bottom that seemed to represent something different, perhaps a solar boat or the Milky Way. Dating the disk brought the first major surprise. Using corrosion analysis, metallurgical examination, and radiocarbon dating of organic materials found with the disk in the burial chamber, scientists determined the object was created approximately 1600 BC, during the Bronze Age. This made it not just old, but incredibly ancient for an astronomical instrument. We are talking about a period when most historians believed European societies were relatively primitive, focused on basic agriculture and rudimentary metallurgy. The idea that these people could create a sophisticated and functional star map seemed impossible. The scientific analysis went even deeper. Researchers discovered that the gold used in the disk came from the Carnon Rivers in Cornwall, England, over 1,000 miles from where it was found. The copper in the bronze originated from the Austrian Alps. This revealed an extremely sophisticated trade network spanning all of Europe during the Bronze Age, far more developed than academics had imagined. But it was the astronomical function of the disk that truly blew experts' minds. The astronomers who examined the artifact realized this wasn't just a pretty artistic representation of the night sky. The Pleiades were the first crucial clue. This cluster of 7 stars has immense significance in ancient cultures around the world. In Bronze Age Europe, the appearance and disappearance of the Pleiades in the night sky marked important periods of the agricultural year. When the Pleiades appeared on the eastern horizon at dawn in March, it was time to sow. When they disappeared on the western horizon at dusk in October, it was time to harvest. The fact that the Pleiades were so prominently represented on the Nebra Disk suggested this object was used to track the agricultural calendar, something absolutely vital for societies that depended on farming to survive. But there was much more encoded in that disk. The 2 golden arcs on the edges of the disk revealed even more surprising knowledge. These arcs cover exactly 82 degrees of the circle. Astronomers quickly realized the significance of this number. 82 degrees is precisely the angle between the sunrise points at the summer solstice and winter solstice, when observed from the latitude of Nebra, which sits at 51 degrees north. This was no coincidence. The people who created the disk had meticulously observed the sun's movement throughout the year, measured the angles with impressive precision, and encoded this information in a durable object. They were recording complex astronomical observations in metal and gold, creating a kind of portable celestial analog computer. But the most extraordinary discovery was still to come. Scientists noticed the disk had been modified over time. It wasn't a static object created once and then forgotten. It was a living tool that was updated as Bronze Age astronomers' knowledge evolved. Metallurgical analysis revealed the disk went through at least 3 phases of modification over several centuries. In the first version, the disk showed only the stars, the larger sun or moon, and the Pleiades. In the second phase, the 2 golden solstice arcs were added. In the third phase, one of the arcs was removed and replaced, and the lower boat-shaped arc was added. Each modification represented an advance in astronomical knowledge. Some researchers proposed that the disk encodes the lunar intercalation rule. The idea is that when the crescent moon appears in the sky near the Pleiades in March, an extra month must be added to the calendar. This rule allows the lunar calendar to be synchronized with the solar year relatively accurately. If this interpretation is correct, and there are heated debates in the scientific community about it, then the Nebra Disk wasn't just a pretty star map. It was an instruction manual for maintaining a functional lunisolar calendar, an extremely sophisticated intellectual technology that required decades or even centuries of careful astronomical observations to develop. We're talking about a level of abstract and scientific thinking that simply shouldn't have existed in Bronze Age Europe according to previous theories. The discovery of the Nebra Disk forced archaeologists and historians to completely reconsider their assumptions about the intellectual capabilities of Bronze Age peoples. For decades, the dominant narrative was that only the great civilizations of the Eastern Mediterranean, like Egypt, Mesopotamia, and later Greece, were capable of sophisticated astronomy. The peoples of Central Europe were seen as backward barbarians, living in simple tribal societies without real scientific knowledge. The Nebra Disk completely destroyed this Eurocentric and condescending narrative. It proved that Central European societies, 3,600 years ago, had qualified astronomers capable of precise observations, complex mathematical calculations, and transmission of knowledge across generations. The archaeological context of the disk also revealed much about the society that created it. Mount Mittelberg, where it was found, wasn't a random location. Later studies showed it was an important ceremonial center during the Bronze Age, with multiple monuments and structures aligned with astronomical events. The chamber where the disk was buried contained high-quality swords, valuable tools, and other prestige objects. This suggests the disk belonged to an elite, probably priest astronomers or tribal leaders, who held the specialized knowledge necessary to interpret the heavens. In agricultural societies, the power to predict seasons and determine the correct calendar for planting and harvesting was a tremendous form of political and religious power. Whoever controlled the calendar controlled society. The disk's manufacturing technique also deserves attention. The bronze was repeatedly hammered until it formed a thin circular plate, then polished to a shine. The gold was applied using a technique called mechanical application gilding, where thin gold foils were pressed and hammered onto the bronze surface in specific patterns. This technique required exceptional skill and deep understanding of metal properties. The Bronze Age artisans who created this object were master metallurgists with decades of experience. Every element of the disk, from the choice of materials to the applied symbols, was carefully planned and executed with precision. It wasn't a casually produced object, but a high-status artifact representing the pinnacle of technology and knowledge of the time. Since its recovery, the Nebra Disk has become one of the most studied and debated archaeological artifacts in the world. It was included in UNESCO's International Memory of the World Register in 2013, recognized as a document of world importance to human history. It's currently on permanent display at the State Museum of Prehistory in Halle, Germany, where millions of visitors have marveled at this extraordinary object. But the controversies haven't ended. Some skeptical archaeologists questioned the disk's authenticity, arguing it could be a modern forgery. However, multiple independent scientific analyses, including corrosion examination, isotope analysis, metallurgical studies, and comparisons with other known Bronze Age artifacts, have repeatedly confirmed its authenticity. The Nebra Disk is real, and that means we have to accept that our ancestors were far more intelligent and sophisticated than we'd like to admit. The importance of the Nebra Disk goes beyond archaeology and the history of science. It forces us to question our assumptions about progress and human development. We tend to imagine history as a straight ascending line, starting with primitive, ignorant humans and culminating with us, modern and enlightened. But reality is much more complex and interesting. Ancient civilizations had deep knowledge in specific areas, sometimes rivaling or even surpassing our modern understanding. They looked at the same skies we observe today and saw not just points of light but patterns, cycles, and meanings. They developed complex systems to track and predict celestial phenomena without telescopes, computers, or any modern technology. Just patient observation, logical reasoning, and careful transmission of knowledge across generations. The Nebra Disk also reminds us that knowledge is fragile. If those two looters had decided to melt down the disk to sell the gold, or if Harold Meller hadn't managed to recover it, this extraordinary window into the minds of Bronze Age astronomers would have been lost forever. How many other similar artifacts were destroyed over the millennia? How many ancient texts, maps, and instruments were burned, melted, or simply left to disintegrate? The history we know is only what survived by accident, luck, or deliberate preservation efforts. Every recovered artifact is a miracle that gives us a glimpse of the past, but we must always remember that what we see is only a tiny fraction of what actually existed. Today, scientists continue studying the Nebra Disk with increasingly advanced technologies. X-ray analyses reveal hidden layers and previously invisible modifications. Computer simulations reconstruct what the night sky looked like over Germany 3,600 years ago, confirming the representations on the disk. Comparative studies with other ancient astronomical artifacts from different cultures reveal global patterns in the development of astronomical knowledge. Each new analysis adds more details to our understanding, not just of this specific object, but of an entire era of human history that was long neglected or misinterpreted. The Nebra Disk opened a door, and now we're beginning to see a whole world of ancient knowledge that was hiding in plain sight. This small bronze and gold disk, created by anonymous hands more than 3.5 millennia ago, carried through the centuries, buried with honor, stolen by criminals, trafficked on the black market, and finally recovered by determined archaeologists, continues teaching us profound lessons. It teaches us humility about our own place in the history of human knowledge. It teaches us respect for the intellectual capabilities of our ancestors. And it teaches us that looking at the sky and trying to understand our place in the cosmos isn't a modern luxury, but a fundamental human impulse that goes back to the dawn of civilization. The Nebra Disk is more than the world's oldest star map. It's a bridge through time that connects our modern minds to the brilliant minds of Bronze Age astronomers who looked at the same stars and asked the same questions we ask today. If this story of the Nebra Disk fascinated you as much as it fascinates the scientists who continue studying this extraordinary artifact, leave a comment sharing what you found most surprising about Bronze Age astronomical knowledge. Subscribe to the channel for more incredible stories about archaeological discoveries that change our understanding of the past. And don't forget to hit the notification bell so you won't miss upcoming videos about the most intriguing mysteries of human history. Until the next journey through time,